I'm so ready for Halloween. Ah! Yeah, that's all the shirt. I got it from this place called Halloween Shirt Company. I love these like vintagey looking prints. I'm definitely ready for Halloween. So I watched The Devil All the Time. Is that what it's called? I think that's just called The Devil All the Time. On Netflix. It just came out yesterday, I believe. It is produced by Jake Gyllenhaal, who I think has quite an established relationship with Netflix. He did this weird movie that I did not like called Velvet Buzzsaw, and then he did, is it called Aksha? Some movie with like a giant hippo? I don't know, I didn't watch it. But it stars his Spider-Man friend, Tom Holland. It's got Robert Pattinson from Twilight and the upcoming Batman movie. And then it also has Bill Skarsgård from It, which, side note, totally unrelated, but he can never hold a candle to Tim Curry. And he was also in, what's that Hulu show that all of their stories are based off of Stephen King universe? I'll put it in here because my brain doesn't work. So the show is about Ohio in the 1950s and 60s and how groups of people's lives kind of intertwine and how they're all just so messed up. It follows several people. It follows this guy Willard, who was a World War II soldier, and how his life it becomes so messed up. This serial killer couple, weird like women's relationships with preachers. I'm probably forgetting some in there, but I think that it was really well done. Interestingly enough, when I looked up the Wikipedia, it was saying that the review was like 6 something, like 6 out of 10, which is interesting because that's less than what people were rating I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I reviewed previous to this video, and they got like a 7, and I hated that movie, and I actually liked this movie. I liked this movie because it was well done. I thought the acting was really good. I thought the story was really messed up and gruesome and not anything that I would want to see again because of the subject matter, but it was really good. It was based off of a novel. There was another review that said it was too rote, which I guess means like just not enough detail or not enough, just too like just, you know, like not enough substance to it, I guess, or you know what I'm trying to get at. Which I disagree. I think that it was perfect as is. It, to me, was plenty gory. It showed a lot, and actually it would have been too much if they'd showed more for me. I'm not into the gore. So I thought it was actually really good. Out of 5 stars, I would give it, I give it a 4. I mean, it's not something I would watch again. It's not a feel-good movie by any means, but it was a good movie, if not hard to watch at several points, just because since I became a mom, I can't deal with a lot that has to do with kids, families. So here's where the spoilers come. So Bill Skarsgård plays a soldier from World War II. He's really messed up from the war. He and a lot of his, what do you call them, fellow soldiers happen upon another fellow soldier who had been strung up and burned alive. And when they come upon him, he's still alive, and they have to shoot him, you know, out of mercy because they just want to end his suffering. So he goes back, he meets this waitress, instantly falls in love with her, and while he was in the war, he lost his faith, but after, because his mom is really, really religious, but after he came back, he met the waitress, they got married and had a son, and then he got his faith back, starts praying again. So you see as his son gets older, his son's name is Arvin, and he gets beat up at school, and Willard wants to teach him to be strong. He says if they start it, you need to finish it. So while they're out praying in the woods, he's telling him to pray about what happened to him at school. These two hunters come upon them. They know who he is, and they make these lewd comments about his wife. He doesn't say anything. He's like, we're praying. Don't worry about it right now. But later on, he chooses his time and like beats the hell out of these guys in front of his son to show him that maybe in the moment it's not the right time to exact your revenge, but you pick your time and then you leash hell upon these people. And he did. And Arvin said that day, because after he did this, he gets back in the car with his son and takes him to get a candy bar. And Arvin says this is his best memory of his dad. Because soon after that, things really go downhill, because after they get home that day, Willard finds his wife, whose name is Charlotte, passed out on the kitchen floor, and then the doctor comes sometime later and tells him that she has cancer that is incurable. He prays really hard to get God to cure her. And as I've said in previous videos, anytime I ever see an animal in a movie, I know something horrible is going to happen to that animal. So I just knew something bad was going to happen to their dog. And I was right. Willard gets in his head thinking that if he makes a sacrifice, that Charlotte will come back to health and the cancer will be gone. So he kills the dog and strings up the dog just like his soldier. Like, strings him up, goes and prays under the dog. And the dog is up there for a long time. And that is traumatic for Arvin, because that's his dog, and look at what his dad had done to it. So that really messes him up. So ultimately Charlotte does die. After their funeral, Willard can't take it and goes to his prayer log under the dog, and he kills himself. Arvin goes and finds him there and goes and gets help, and they find his dad, and he has to go and live with his grandmother, who is also raising a child around his age, which we will get to. So I'm like, the order might be weird because the movie does kind of like go from these people to these people, and you kind of see how their lives start to intertwine. So my notes kind of went in order. I kind of tried to cluster them around the people and their stories, but if this doesn't make any sense, I apologize. I tried my best. But next is Roy and Helen. Roy is this really, really weird, like, wannabe preacher, and Helen is this woman who's lost her whole family in a fire. Willard's mom, Emma, actually tried to get her together with Willard, but Willard already had his sights on the waitress. And they're all in church one day, Willard, Helen, and Emma, and Roy is up front preaching, pours a bunch of spiders over his head, and she's in love. So they get together and they have a daughter named Lenora. Roy kind of descends further into madness, like locks himself in a closet for days, and then one day hears God talk to him. And he goes off into the woods with his brother and with Helen and stabs her in the neck with a screwdriver, thinking that he can resurrect her. God has told him this. So after she's dead, he's like, come back. Obviously she doesn't come back, and he's freaked out. He is genuinely stunned. This woman is not coming back from the dead. So he buries her and goes on the run. Emma, who Helen has left Lenora to babysit, is left to raise the child. But he goes on the run with his brother, but then he and his brother stop off to sleep, and then Roy leaves his brother and goes hitchhiking and comes upon he gets picked up by the serial killer couple, who are Carl and Sandy. Sandy worked at the same restaurant that Charlotte worked, and met her husband Carl, who was sick, and she probably was sick too. And they get together and they start picking up. So he has this weird fetish where he likes to see his wife have sex with other men, and then he photographs it. But he's like a necrophile as well, So he photographs everything from start to finish, like, and they want to pick up good-looking men. So he gets off on that and then takes pictures as like he's killing them, and those are what they call their models. So they pick up Roy. Roy is their first victim, so they're really new at this still. And Carl tells Roy to have sex with his wife. Roy is like religious and is like, no, I'm not gonna do this. And as Carl puts a gun in his face, Roy is like, her name's Lenora, my daughter's Lenora. And Carl just shoots him in the head. And to me, this just makes me really fucking sad, just because I'm a mom and I just can't take this kind of stuff. Like, thinking about kids becoming orphans and like not, like, having your baby, being a baby, being so young, and then like you don't get to see them grow up, like literally, I can't. So it was rough to watch, and I had already had a hard day that day. So as I said, Arvin goes to stay with his grandma Emma. Lenora is already there. They grow up together. They grow up as step siblings, and they grow up to be very, very close. Arvin is her protector. He's Lenora's protector. And he has kind of inherited his dad's like ass-kicking streak, basically. He can take care of himself. And he learned to really like pick the time that he kind of exacts his revenge. So because there's this group of boys that tortures his stepsister, and he takes care of them. I really feel like he's a very sympathetic character. When I was reading about a little bit of the backstory of the movie, I saw something that somebody had written, you know, that Tom Holland did a really good job. His portrayal, it shows him go from loss after loss, and he always seems really strong. He doesn't show the extent of the damage that is being done to him. He doesn't ever crumble. He's just always, when he's in a scene, like when he's in fights with bullies, or when he's in the car with Carl and Sandy, or wherever he is, like you just feel like he can handle himself, and he always does. He always comes out of it. You like really feel for him. Like his whole life is just made up of loss after loss after loss after loss, and like you just can't imagine what that would do to somebody. So I don't know if I said, but this is all yeah, I think I said in the beginning that this is like 1950s, 1960s Ohio. So enter Robert Pattinson. So he plays Reverend Preston Teagarden. When we first see him, he's like, all the people in the church bring their dishes, and Emma doesn't have a lot of money, so she brings chicken livers, and he points it out and talks about how like she's poor and it's all she could do, and he's going to sacrifice and just eat the chicken liver so everybody else can eat the white meat and the red meat and all the good stuff, and just like literally humanly gets her in front of the church. And then we see later on that when Lenora goes to the cemetery, she goes to the cemetery regularly to visit her mother Charlotte's grave. And one day Arvin doesn't stay with her because he needs to go, he's got some ass kicking to do. And during that time it starts raining, and she runs into the church and finds Reverend Teagarden. Dude is a pedophile, or he just preys on young girls. And so he takes her in his car, and he like starts talking about, you know, how like God wants her to take her clothes off and stuff, and she likes it, she likes him, so she keeps going back until she gets pregnant. He's also messing around with other young girls too, but he gets her pregnant. He doesn't want the baby. He's like telling her she's delusional, he can't be a father of a bastard child. So he tells her, you know, you need to get rid of it. Your grandma, you know, she would be ashamed. Think of her shame. And she misses church one morning because she's sick, and because she decides she's going to kill herself. So she goes into the shed on their property, gets ready. She's got the noose around her neck, and she's getting ready to do it. But then she has second thoughts and thinks, no, like Emma would not be ashamed of me. Like Emma took in her grandchild after her son killed himself, and she took in her friend's child after she's murdered. Like, she would not turn away another child, and she wouldn't be ashamed because she knows what kind of person that Emma is, but she accidentally kicks the bucket out from underneath her and she dies anyway. So Arvin finds out from a police officer that the coroner told him that they did an autopsy and Lenora was pregnant. And Arvin starts to put two and two together that it's the preacher's child because the preacher wouldn't say any words about her death. And he starts watching the preacher and finds that the preacher is also having relationships with young girls. And so he figures that he got Lenora pregnant, confronts him in the church, and he winds up shooting the preacher in the head from his father's gun that his uncle gifted him on his recent birthday, that his father brought back from the war. So after he shoots the preacher, he already knows he's gonna have to go on the run. He leaves a note for his grandma. He goes on the run in his truck, but he runs out of gas, or the car stops working. And he starts hitchhiking. So you can pretty much know where this is going. He runs into Carl and Sandy, and Sandy doesn't want to pick him up because they have a rule that they don't pick up any people that live in their town that they could know. But he wants this guy. Carl wants Arvin. Pick him up, and then Carl is like, I need to stop on the side of the road because I need to go to the bathroom. And Arvin is on high alert and actually sees Carl get a gun from the back. And as Carl comes to get Arvin out of the car, Carl shoots him. And then Sandy's freaked out. Sandy already wanted to leave Carl. She already just didn't want to do this anymore. But she's freaked out because she thinks that now Arvin's going to shoot her. But little does she know, Carl was already paranoid because she was acting weird. She wanted to leave him. She tried to leave one night before, but wound up coming back. And he became paranoid and loaded her gun with blanks. So she and Arvin shoot at each other at the same time, and she gets shot, but he doesn't because her gun is full of blanks. So he flees the scene. He's on his way back to kind of like make peace with his dad. He's going back to the prayer log from where he lived when he was a boy. And Sandy, her brother, is the town sheriff. The town sheriff is really corrupt, and he kind of knows what she's doing already, but he's trying to keep it a secret because he's up for re-election. So his police friends find the car and tell him, you know, it's your sister and her husband, and he comes and he's really upset, obviously, even though his sister's a murderer, he is very, very upset that she's dead now. And he gets a call in from the radio that some people are kind of like connecting Arvin with the preacher's death and with that couple's death, possibly because it's kind of like in the path to his childhood home. And interestingly enough, like going back to how all these people's lives are intertwined, that sheriff, when he was younger, he is the police officer who was called out to Arvin's dad's death and comforted the boy in the way that basically he told him, look, my dad was a piece of shit too. Forget about him. He realizes that, oh my gosh, like I knew this guy as a kid. I know where he's going. He's drunk and distraught over his sister's death. He's gonna go and kill Arvin. So Arvin hears somebody in the woods. It's really sad because there's this line in the movie that Arvin says he wants to make peace with his dad. He had to go back. He says that he kind of like forgives his dad or understands why his dad did what he did, because he said that his dad had to go back to wherever Charlotte went. And that was so sad to me, like being so connected to somebody that when they're gone, you can't go on anymore and you want to go wherever it is that they went and they're no longer here. Like that struck a chord with me and just was like so profoundly sad. Like as a mom now, like I can relate. I don't know, like not to get like on a tangent or be too morbid or whatever, but like when you love someone that much that if anything ever happened to them, like you couldn't go on anymore, like I understand that feeling. And so that's why it made me so sad. So then they kind of get into a shootout, Arvin and the sheriff. The sheriff is drunk, distraught, and they're shooting at each other, but Arvin shoots the sheriff, and the sheriff dies. But as he's dying, Arvin's like, look at this picture, your sister was a murderer, I'm really sorry, but they were going to kill me. Sheriff eventually dies. Arvin goes to hitchhiking again and gets picked up by this like hippie looking guy, and Arvin is so exhausted he doesn't want to go to sleep, but he can't keep his eyes open. And as he's going to sleep, he's kind of like going back and forth from his childhood to like, what is he going to do next? Is he going to enlist because the Vietnam War is coming up next? And he's like, I'm good at fighting. Should I be like my dad and go into the war? Should I go to Cincinnati, you know, find a woman and have a family? And he's just thinking about all these things about what he's going to do next as he's falling asleep, basically. And that's how the movie ends. So I do think it was a really good movie, and I would recommend you seeing it. It's pretty violent and very, very depressing, but nonetheless, it is a good movie, and lots of great actors in it. So that's it for that. And next one, tomorrow I'm going to watch, I still have the Candyman I need to review. And I do want to do a reaction to the trailer. Which my sister-in-law sent me the trailer a while ago. The trailer's been out for a while. I saw it once, but I kind of want to do like a reaction trailer to it. I'm just very excited for the new one coming up. It's be interesting to see how they kind of bring it back for a new generation. I don't really know what they're going to do. I think that the guy, did Jordan Peele do it? I don't know. I feel like it has a connection to the people that did Get Out. I could be wrong. I want to rent, Antebellum came out today. So I think tomorrow I'm going to watch that and do a review video of that. So that will probably be the next one that comes up. And unless there's something new after that, I want to get up my Candyman review. The 1992 one, because the new one's not out yet. And then I will review the new one when it comes out. So, as usual, if you like the video, leave a like, comment, let me know if you saw this movie. What did you think about it? How many stars would you rate this movie? Let me know if you have any suggestions, and I'll see you in my next video.